Before we dive into today's heartfelt story, I'd love for you to join our community of dreamers and storytellers. If you're moved by tales of love, family, and resilience, hit that like button to share the warmth and subscribe with the bell icon so you never miss a moment of inspiration. Your support means the world. Now let's begin. My name is Evelyn Harper, Evie to those who know me, and I'm 24 years old, standing in the grand parlor of the Thornton estate, where shadows dance under the flicker of a crystal chandelier. The air carries the scent of sandalwood, heavy and warm, mingling with the faint smoke of a dying hearth. My hands tremble as they clutch a bouquet of lilies, their petals soft against my fingers. But the white silk dress my mother chose clings to my skin like a second layer of fear. The fabric whispers with every step, a reminder of the bargain I've made. Today is my wedding day, but it's no fairy tale. It's a transaction, a gilded cage to save my mother from her gambling debts and keep my little brother, Henry, safe. The polished oak floor creaks under my feet as Nathaniel Thornton enters, his presence like a storm rolling in. He's 38, a CEO whose name echoes through Havenport, Maine, with the weight of wealth and power. His gray eyes are sharp, cutting through me like winter wind, and his chiseled jaw could have been carved from the cliffs overlooking the sea. "You understand the terms?" he asks, his voice low, steady, like he's closing a business deal. I nod, my throat tight, the lilies trembling in my grip. I want to scream, to run, but the image of my mother's frail hands and Henry's hopeful smile anchors me here. The ceremony unfolds in Havenport's old stone church, where the organ's mournful notes reverberate off stained glass windows. The scent of carnations fills the air, sweet but fleeting, like the life I'm leaving behind. I'm not the bride in the spotlight. Clara, Nate's sister, planned this wedding as a spectacle for their elite circle, and I'm merely a footnote, a necessity to seal the deal. The congregation's eyes pierce me, their whispers slicing through the organ's hum. The flower girl from the market. What's she doing here? I stand rigid, my heart pounding, feeling like an intruder in this world of velvet and gold. Nate slips a ring onto my finger, his touch cold, mechanical. He doesn't look at me, and I don't expect him to. This is duty, not love. After the vows, we're whisked to the Thornton estate, a mansion perched on Havenport's cliffs, where the sea's roar is a constant companion. Nate leads me to a bedroom that feels more like a museum, with its mahogany, furniture, and heavy velvet curtains. Moonlight spills through the window, casting his tall silhouette against the wall. "Sleep here," he says, his voice clipped, before turning away. The door clicks shut, and I'm alone. The silence louder than the organ's echo. I sink onto the bed, the silk dress pooling around me, and my fingers find the silver ring my mother gave me years ago. A simple band etched with a single lily. It's all I have left of the days when she'd sing lullabies in our tiny kitchen, the smell of oatmeal cookies wrapping us in warmth. Those memories feel like another lifetime now. I set the lilies on the nightstand, their fragrance faint but grounding, and notice a small wooden box tucked beneath the bed. Curiosity pulls me to it, my hands brushing against the cool, smooth grain. Inside, there's a folded letter, yellowed with age, in my mother's trembling handwriting. My breath catches as I read the words. "Forgive your father, Evie." My heart stumbles. My father left us when I was 10, or so I thought. His absence a wound my mother never explained. What does this mean? Why hide this here, in this house, of strangers? The letter feels like a secret too heavy to hold, a crack in the foundation of everything I've believed. I clutch the silver ring tighter, its edges pressing into my palm, and the memory of my mother's voice floods back. "You're stronger than you know, Evie," she'd said, her hands kneading dough in that cramped kitchen, her smile soft despite the lines of worry on her face. I want to believe her, but standing in this opulent prison, I feel small, fragile, like one of my lilies caught in a storm. Nate's cold indifference lingers in my mind, those gray eyes that saw me as nothing more than a contract. Yet there's something else, a flicker beneath his gaze, like a locked door I'm not meant to open. The wind howls outside, carrying the salt of the sea, and I imagine Henry's laughter, his messy hair as he runs through the market with me, selling flowers to tourists. He's 16, full of dreams he doesn't yet know could break. I made this choice for him, for my mother's weary heart, but the weight of it presses against my chest. What have I traded for their safety, my freedom, my chance at love? The letter's words echo. Forgive your father. And I wonder if forgiveness is possible when trust feels so far away. I slip the letter back into the box, hiding it beneath the bed where I found it. The chandelier's light has dimmed, leaving only the moon to watch over me. I lie down, the silk dress still on, its fabric a reminder of the role I've accepted. But as I close my eyes, my mother's lullaby hums in my heart, and the silver ring rests against my skin, a quiet promise that I'm not entirely lost. Not yet. Tomorrow, I'll face this new world, Nate's world, with its polished surfaces and hidden truths. For now, I hold on to the memory of oatmeal cookies and my mother's voice, hoping they'll carry me through the gilded cage I've walked into. The Thornton estate feels like a labyrinth of polished wood and whispered expectations. Each morning, I wake to the distant crash of waves against Havenport's cliffs, the salt air slipping through my bedroom window. The silk dress from my wedding day hangs in the wardrobe, a ghost of the bargain I've made. I'm Evie Harper, 24, a flower seller trapped in a world of velvet and gold, and Nathaniel Thornton, my husband in name only, is a shadow I can't quite grasp. His gray eyes haunt me, cold as the Maine winter, yet there's a flicker in them I don't understand, like embers buried under ash. Days blend into one another, marked by silent dinners where the clink of silverware echoes louder than words. The dining room smells of roasted lamb and bitter coffee, the long mahogany table stretching between us like an ocean. Nate sits at the head, his jaw tight, reading papers while I pick at my plate. "You're settling in?" he asks once, his voice clipped, not looking up. I nod, my throat too dry to speak, feeling like a guest who's overstayed her welcome. I want to ask about the letter I found. Forgive your father, Evie. But the words stick, heavy as the silver ring on my finger, the one my mother gave me when I was a girl. It's etched with a lily, a reminder of her lullabies in our tiny kitchen, where the smell of oatmeal cookies made everything feel safe. My refuge is the little wooden house by the sea, where my mother, Margaret, and my brother Henry wait for me. I slip away each afternoon, trading the estate's sandalwood haze for the familiar creak of our front porch. The air there carries the tang of seaweed and wild roses, grounding me. Mother's cough has worsened, her hands trembling as she knits a scarf in her rocking chair. I kneel beside her, wiping sweat from her brow with a damp cloth, the way she used to do for me when I was sick. "You're too good to me, Evie," she says, her voice frail but warm. Her eyes, green like mine, hold stories she won't share. Not yet. I think of the letter, hidden back at the estate, and wonder what she's keeping from me. She tells me about my father, fragments of a life I barely remember. "He loved you, Evie, in his way," she says, her needles clicking softly. "He wasn't good at showing it." I smile, but my heart aches. I want to believe her, but his absence left a hole no words can fill. Henry bounds in, 16 and all elbows, his grin bright despite our troubles. "Sold 10 bouquets today," he announces, tossing me a daisy. We laugh, tying flowers together on the porch, the scent of lilies wrapping us in a fleeting warmth. These moments are why I agreed to Nate's deal, to keep this house, this family, whole. Back at the estate, the evenings are colder. I'm in the kitchen one night, drawn by the unexpected smell of brewing coffee. Not the bitter kind from dinner, but rich, earthy, like my mother's morning pot. Nate stands there, sleeves rolled up, pouring a cup with a precision that feels out of place in this gleaming marble space. The sight startles me. He's always seemed too grand for something so ordinary. "I sent a doctor to see your mother," he says, his eyes fixed on the coffee, not me. My breath catches. "Why?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. He shrugs, a small gesture that doesn't match his usual control. "She needs it." I want to thank him, but Clara, his sister, sweeps in before I can. Her perfume is sharp, like overripe fruit, and her smile sharper. "Don't get ideas, Evie," she says, leaning against the counter. "Nate's just tying up loose ends." Her words sting, painting me as a burden, a contract to be managed. I lower my gaze, the silver ring heavy on my finger, but when I glance up, Nate's eyes meet mine, just for a moment. They're not cold now, but warm, like the glow of a sunset over the sea. My heart stumbles, and I look away, afraid of what I might see if I linger. Later, I'm back at the wooden house, sitting with Henry as he sketches boats on scrap paper, dreaming of sailing one day. "Nate stopped by the market," he says casually, not looking up. "Bought a whole bunch of lilies, said they were for the estate." I freeze, the daisy from earlier still tucked in my hair. Lilies are my flower, the ones I sell, the ones tied to my mother's ring. Why would Nate choose them? The thought unsettles me, like a pebble rippling a still pond. He's a man of calculations, not sentiment, yet this feels different, intentional. I return to the estate under a starless sky, the wind carrying the faint howl of the ocean. In my room, I sit on the bed, the velvet curtains drawn tight, and turn the silver ring on my finger. My mother's lullaby hums in my mind, soft and steady, but it's drowned by questions. The letter under the bed calls to me, its words, "Forgive your father." A puzzle I'm not ready to solve. And Nate, his coffee, his doctor, his lilies, feels like another puzzle, one I'm both drawn to and afraid of. I've traded my freedom for my family's safety, but what if there's more to this bargain than I thought? I close my eyes, the scent of lilies from the nightstand lingering, and hold on to the memory of Henry's laugh, my mother's frail smile. They're my anchor in this gilded cage, but Nate's fleeting warmth, those eyes in the shadows, stirs something new, a hope I'm not sure I can trust. The Thornton estate hums with a quiet that feels alive, like the sea before a storm. I'm Evie Harper, 24, navigating this gilded cage where every polished surface reflects my unease. The scent of sandalwood lingers in the halls, but it's the memory of my mother's oatmeal cookies that keeps me grounded. Nathaniel, Thornton, Nate, my husband in name, remains a puzzle, his gray eyes holding secrets I can't reach. His unexpected kindness, sending a doctor for my mother and buying lilies at the market, stirs a hope I'm afraid to name. Yet, the letter I found under the bed, "Forgive your father, Evie," weighs heavier each day, its words like a tide pulling me toward truths I'm not ready to face. Tonight, the estate hosts a dinner for Havenport's elite, and I'm expected to play my part. The dining room glitters under a chandelier's glow, the air thick with the tang of red wine and roasted pheasant. My silk dress, a pale blue Clara chose, feels like armor I don't know how to wear. I sit beside Nate, his presence commanding yet distant, his fingers drumming lightly on a crystal glass. The guests' laughter rings hollow, their eyes flicking to me with curiosity or disdain. Clara, radiant in emerald green, raises her glass and smiles, but it's a blade disguised. "To family obligations," she says, her voice sweet but pointed. "Some of us bear them better than others." The room chuckles and my cheeks burn. She means me, the flower girl who doesn't belong, a debt repaid with a ring. I grip the silver lily ring on my finger, its edges grounding me, but the sting of Clara's words cuts deep. I want to vanish, to run back to the wooden house where my mother's cough and my brother Henry's laughter are all that matter. Nate's hand brushes mine under the table, a fleeting touch, and I glance at him. His jaw is tight, his eyes fixed on Clara, but they soften when they meet mine. "Don't let her get to you," he murmurs, so low only I hear. My heart stumbles. His voice isn't cold now, but warm, like the hearth's glow. I nod, but the room feels too small, the wine scent too sharp. I excuse myself, slipping out to the balcony where the night air carries the salt of the sea and the distant crash of waves. The stars are faint, veiled by clouds, and I lean against the stone, railing, breathing in the ocean's freedom. Nate follows, his footsteps quiet but unmistakable. He stands beside me, close enough that I feel the heat of him despite the chill. "You don't have to stay out here," he says, his voice softer than I've ever heard. I turn to him, searching, those gray eyes for the man behind the CEO. "I don't know how to be what they want," I admit, my voice trembling. "I'm trying, for my mother, for Henry, but it's not enough." He looks out at the sea, his silence heavy. "You're enough, Evie," he says finally, and the words land like a stone in still water, rippling through me. I want to ask what he means, but my mother's voice calls me home. I leave the estate, the night's chill clinging to my skin, and find her in the wooden house, sitting by the kitchen's single lamp. The room smells of baked bread, a faint echo of her cookie-filled days. Her cough is quieter tonight, but her hands shake as she hands me a small wooden box, its hinges rusted. "Open it, Evie," she says, her green eyes glistening. Inside are letters, dozens of them, in my father's slanted script. My breath catches as I read one. "I didn't leave you, Margaret. I worked for them to pay the debt, to keep you safe." My mother's voice breaks as she explains. He took dangerous jobs for a loan shark, hoping to clear her debts, and died when I was 10, not from abandonment but sacrifice. The words blur through my tears. All these years I thought he'd walked away, leaving us to struggle. Now I see a man who loved us, flawed but trying, and the weight of my anger crumbles. My mother reaches for my hand, her fingers frail but warm. "I kept it from you to protect you," she whispers. "I'm sorry." I hug her, the scent of her lavender soap wrapping me in forgiveness. The silver ring on my finger feels lighter, as if my father's love has woven itself into its lily. I return to the estate near dawn, the sky bruising purple over the cliffs. The library's oak doors draw me in, where the smell of old books and beeswax candles calms my racing heart. Nate is there, hunched over a desk, a glass of untouched whiskey beside him. "Why do you help my mother?" I ask, my voice steady despite the hour. He looks up, his gray eyes raw, unguarded. "Because I know what it's like to lose family," he says, his voice rough. "My parents died when I was young. Clara's all I have, but it's not the same." For the first time, I see him not as a tycoon, but as a man carrying his own wounds. I step closer, wanting to bridge the gap between us, but stop short, clutching the ring instead. The letter's truth has shifted something in me. Forgiveness feels possible, not just for my father, but maybe for Nate too. The sea's roar filters through the window, and I wonder if trust, like love, can grow in this gilded cage. For now, I hold my mother's apology and Nate's quiet confession. fragile as the lilies I sell, but enough to carry me forward. The dawn breaks over Havenport, painting the cliffs in hues of amber and rose, but inside the Thornton estate, I feel like a flower caught in frost. I'm Evie Harper, 24, still adjusting to the weight of my choices. A marriage to Nathaniel Thornton, to save my mother and brother, a gilded cage of sandalwood and secrets. The truth about my father, revealed in his letters, has shifted something in me. He didn't abandon us. He died trying to protect us. That knowledge is a quiet flame, warming the edges of my heart. But it doesn't ease the chill of Nate's world, where every glance feels like a judgment and every word a test. I see Nate differently now, though. His confession in the library, about losing his parents, about carrying wounds like mine, lingers like the scent of old books. His gray eyes, once cold as slate, hold a softness I can't ignore, and his actions speak louder than his silence. He sent a doctor for my mother, bought lilies from my market stall. Yet I'm cautious, afraid to trust a man whose life is built on control. The silver ring on my finger, etched with a lily, grounds me, a tether to my mother's lullabies, and the wooden house where love doesn't come with strings. My days find rhythm in visits to that house by the sea. The porch creaks under my steps, the air thick with wild roses and salt. Henry, my 16-year-old brother, is there, his laughter a balm as we arrange lilies and daisies for the market. "Think I could build a boat someday?" he asks, his hands weaving twine around stems, his eyes bright with dreams. I ruffle his hair, the scent of earth and flowers clinging to us. "You'll sail the world, Henry," I say, and his grin makes my sacrifice feel worth it. Inside, my mother, Margaret, sits by the kitchen window, her knitting needles clicking softly. The room smells of chamomile tea, a faint echo of her cookie-filled days. I pour her a cup, the steam curling like a memory, and sit beside her, watching her frail hands work. "You're my strength, Evie," she says, her green eyes meeting mine. I smile, but the weight of her illness presses against me, a reminder of why I'm here. Back at the estate, Clara's presence is a shadow over my fragile hope. She corners me in the parlor, where the chandelier's light casts prisms on the walls, and her perfume, sharp, like overripe peaches, makes my head ache. "You're not special, Evie," she says, her voice low, cutting. "Nate loved someone before, you know. She broke him. You're just convenient." Her words land like stones, stirring doubts I've tried to bury. Was Nate's warmth a lie? Am I merely a stand-in for a ghost? I clutch the silver ring, its lily pressing into my palm, and force a steady breath. "I'm here for my family," I say, meeting her gaze. She laughs, but it's brittle, and I walk away, my heart racing. That afternoon, my mother's cough worsens, a rattling sound that twists my stomach. I rush to the wooden house, the sky heavy with clouds. The kitchen is dim, the air thick with the scent of lavender soap as I help her to bed. Her forehead is warm, her breathing shallow. Panic rises, but I focus on the familiar. Boiling water, steeping chamomile. The kettle's whistle a steady anchor. As I hold her hand, the door creaks open, and Nate steps in, his coat dusted with sea mist. Behind him is a doctor, a kind-faced woman with a medical bag. "I called her," Nate says simply, his voice low, his gray eyes steady on mine. "She's the best in Maine." My throat tightens, gratitude warring with disbelief. I want to speak, but all I manage is a nod as the doctor checks my mother, her presence a quiet reassurance. Nate lingers by the door, his silhouette framed against the fading light. His hand brushes my shoulder as he passes, a gentle touch that sends warmth through me, like sunlight breaking through fog. I follow him outside, the porch creaking under us, the sea's roar filling the silence. "Why are you doing this?" I ask, my voice soft but firm. He looks out at the horizon, his jaw tight. "Because you shouldn't carry this alone," he says. And his words, simple as they are, feel like a promise. Later, Henry finds me in the market shed, where we store our flowers. The air smells of damp earth and petals, and his grin is wide as he holds up a small toolbox, gleaming under the lantern's glow. "Nate gave me this," he says, eyes shining. "Said it's for building stuff, like boats, maybe." My heart skips. A toolbox, not just a gift, but a nod to Henry's dreams, given without fanfare. I touch the daisy tucked in my hair, the one Henry gave me days ago, and realize Nate's kindness isn't random. It's deliberate, woven into the fabric of my family's life. Back at the estate, I sit in my room, the velvet curtains drawn, the lilies on my nightstand filling the air with their soft perfume. The letter, "Forgive your father," remains hidden, but its truth has freed something in me. I think of Nate's touch, his quiet sacrifices, and wonder if trust can bloom here, in this world of whispers and wealth. My mother's voice echoes in my mind, singing lullabies, and Henry's laughter rings like a bell. They're my reason, my strength, but Nate's gentle touch lingers, a seed of hope I'm starting to nurture, even as Clara's warning echoes. For now, I hold the silver ring and let the sea's song carry me to sleep, ready for whatever dawn might bring. The Thornton estate stands like a sentinel against the dawn, its windows catching the first light over Havenport's cliffs. I'm Evie Harper, 24, no longer just a flower seller bound by a bargain, but a woman learning to trust the fragile threads of hope weaving through my life. Nathaniel Thornton, Nate, my husband, has become more than a cold contract. His quiet acts of care, doctors for my mother, a toolbox for my brother, Henry, have softened his gray eyes, making them less like winter and more like a sunset's glow. Yet Clara's warning about his past love lingers, a shadow I can't fully shake. The silver ring on my finger, etched with a lily, anchors me to my mother's lullabies and my father's redeemed memory. But I'm still searching for where I belong in this gilded cage. My mother's health is a flickering candle, brighter some days, dimmer others. I spend mornings at the wooden house by the sea, where the porch creaks and the air carries wild roses and salt. The kitchen smells of chamomile tea, its steam curling as I pour a cup for her. Margaret's hands, once trembling, steady as she knits, her green eyes brighter since the doctor's visits. "You've carried so much, Evie," she says, her voice soft but strong. I smile, brushing a strand of gray hair from her face, the scent of her lavender soap wrapping me in comfort. Henry joins us, his laughter filling the room as he sketches boats on the tablecloth. "Nate said I could help at the docks," he beams, clutching the toolbox Nate gave him. My heart lifts. Henry's dreams are taking root, and Nate's hand is in it, quiet, but sure. But Clara's words gnaw at me, sowing doubt like weeds. Is Nate's kindness real, or am I a replacement for someone he lost? I need answers, and I find him in the estate's parlor, where the chandelier's prisms scatter light across mahogany, walls. The room smells of polished wood and faint cigar smoke, a world so unlike my flower stall. Nate stands by the window, his silhouette sharp against the morning haze. "Who was she?" I ask, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "The woman Clara mentioned." He turns, his gray eyes searching mine, and for a moment, I think he'll deflect. Instead, he sits, gesturing for me to join him. "Her name was Laura," he says, his voice low, rough. "She worked for my company, and I thought she loved me. But she used me. For money. For status. The words carry old pain, and I see it in the lines around his eyes, the way his fingers tighten on the armrest. I swore I'd never let anyone close again. Then you came, Evie, and you made me want to try. His confession is quiet, like a tide turning, and it washes over me, dissolving my fears. I reach for his hand, my fingers brushing his, warm and solid. I'm not her, I say, my voice firm. I'm here for my family, and maybe for you, too. His smile is small, but it's real, lighting his face like the dawn outside. Clara's shadow looms, though. She confronts me in the garden, where roses climb trellises and the air hums with bees. Her emerald dress glitters, but her eyes are cold. You'll never be enough for him, she says, her voice venomous. I stand tall, the silver ring grounding me. I don't need to be enough for you, I reply. I'm enough for me. Her lips part, but no words come. For the first time, I see her falter, and I walk away, the scent of roses trailing behind me. Later, she finds me in the parlor, her voice softer. I was wrong about you, Evie, she says, almost a whisper. You're stronger than I thought. It's not an apology, but it's close. And I nod, letting the moment pass like a wave. That evening, I bring my mother and Henry to the beach below the cliffs, where Nate waits. The sky burns gold. The seas roar a steady hymn. Margaret walks slowly, leaning on me, her shawl fluttering in the breeze. The sand is cool under our feet, the air thick with salt and freedom. She pulls me close, her lavender scent mingling with the seas. You've saved us, Evie, she whispers, her eyes glistening. Your father would be proud. I hug her, tears blurring the horizon, and Henry runs to us, laughing, his toolbox swinging. Nate stands nearby, his gray eyes warm, and I take his hand, our fingers intertwining like roots finding soil. We sit, on the sand, the sunset painting us in light, and I feel whole. Not just a daughter or a sister, but a woman who's found love where she least expected it. Back at the wooden house, I light a lamp in the kitchen, its glow dancing on the walls. Henry sketches, my mother knits, and I pour chamomile tea, its warmth seeping into my hands. Nate joins us, his presence no longer foreign but familiar, like the sea's endless song. You're my home, he says later, his voice low as we stand on the porch, the stars above us. I lean into him, the silver ring catching the moonlight, and know he's right. The letter, "Forgive your father," rests in my heart, its truth a bridge to this moment. I've forgiven, not just him, but myself, for doubting I could find happiness here. The wooden house, with its creaking floors and chamomile air, is our haven, and Nate is part of it now. As the night deepens, I hold on to my family's laughter, and Nate's steady hand, ready for whatever lies beyond the dawn. Havenport's cliffs glow under the midday sun, but a quiet unease stirs within me, like the sea before a squall. I'm Evie Harper, 24, no longer a stranger to the Thornton Estate's sandalwood halls, or the wooden house where my family's laughter keeps me whole. Nathaniel Thornton, Nate, my husband, has become my anchor, his gray eyes now, a haven rather than a storm. His confession about his past, his care for my mother and brother, has woven us together. Fragile, but real. Yet the letter I found, "Forgive your father, Evie," and my mother's secrets still echo, reminding me that even love can't shield us from hidden truths. The silver ring on my finger, etched with a lily, is my tether, carrying my mother's lullabies and my father's redeemed sacrifice. Life has settled into a tender rhythm. I spend mornings at the wooden house, where the porch creaks and the air hums with wild roses and salt. My mother, Margaret, is stronger now, her cough softer, her hands steady as she kneads dough in the kitchen. The room smells of yeast and baked bread, a warmth that feels like her old cookie-filled days. "You've given me back my life, Evie," she says, her green eyes bright. I hug her, the scent of her lavender soap grounding me, and smile at Henry, who's sketching boats at the table, his toolbox from Nate nearby. "Think Nate'll take me sailing?" he asks, grinning. I ruffle his hair, the tang of sea air clinging to us. "He'd better," I tease. But my heart swells. Nate's woven into their dreams, too. Back at the estate, the parlor's chandelier casts soft prisms, and the scent of polished wood lingers. Nate and I share quiet moments now, his hand brushing mine over coffee, his smile softening the edges of his chiseled face. Clara, his sister, has retreated, her sharp edges dulled by our last encounter. I think we've found peace, but Havenport's tides are never still. One afternoon, a stranger arrives at the wooden house, his coat worn, his eyes heavy with time. "I knew your father, Evie," he says, his voice rough as gravel. He hands me a letter, its paper brittle, and my breath catches. It's my father's handwriting. "Evie, I sent money for your mother, but it never reached her. I'm sorry." My mother joins us, her face paling as the man explains. My father entrusted funds to a friend to clear her debts, but they were stolen, leaving him to die for nothing. The kitchen grows small, the bread's warmth fading as my mother sinks into a chair. "I didn't know," she whispers, tears falling. "I thought he'd failed us." The words hit like stones. My father's sacrifice was true, but his efforts were betrayed, and my mother carried that guilt, hiding it to protect me. The sea's roar filters through the window, and I kneel beside her, taking her trembling hands. "You did what you thought was right," I say, my voice steady despite the ache. "We forgive each other, don't we?" She nods, pulling me into a hug, her lavender scent mixing with my tears. Henry watches, quiet, and I draw him close, our family whole despite the cracks. I need Nate, need his strength to face this new wound. I find him on the beach below the cliffs, where the wind carries salt and the sand stings my skin. His coat flaps in the gusts, his gray eyes scanning the horizon. "I'm afraid," I admit, the letter crumpled in my hand. "What if we keep hurting each other with secrets?" He turns, his face open, vulnerable. "No more secrets, Evie," he says, stepping closer. "You're my family now." His arms wrap around me, warm against the wind's bite. And I lean into him, the sea's rhythm steadying my heart. His breath is soft against my hair, a promise in the chaos. That night, back at the estate, Nate calls me to his study, where the air smells of leather and ink. A folder sits on his desk, papers neatly stacked. "I found it," he says, his voice low. "The money your father sent. It was intercepted by a man in his circle. I tracked it down." My heart stops. He's recovered what was stolen, enough to secure my mother's future, Henry's dreams. "Why?" I ask, tears welling. He takes my hand, his fingers tracing the silver ring. "Because you deserve peace," he says, his eyes locking with mine. "And because I belong to you." The words are a vow, simple but profound, and I step closer, our foreheads touching, the folder forgotten. In this moment, he's not a CEO, but a man who's chosen me. The wooden house feels different now, its creaking floors a song of resilience. I sit with my mother, pouring chamomile tea, the steam curling like hope. Henry sketches beside us, his laughter bright, and I think of my father, not with anger, but gratitude. His love, though flawed, reached us through Nate's efforts. The letter, "Forgive your father," has lost its weight, replaced by forgiveness that binds us. I look at my mother's steady hands, Henry's eager grin, and know we've weathered the storm. As dusk falls, I stand on the porch, the sea's whisper mingling with the rose's scent. Nate joins me, his hand finding mine, warm and sure. We're enough, I say, echoing his words from weeks ago. He smiles, his gray eyes glowing like the sunset. The wind carries our promise forward, and I hold the silver ring, its lily a symbol of love that endures. Whatever secrets lie ahead, we'll face them together, rooted in this fragile, beautiful life we're building, one gentle touch at a time. Havenport Sea breathes softly today, its waves a gentle hymn against the cliffs. I'm Evie Harper, 24, standing at the edge of a life I never imagined, a life where the Thornton Estate's sandalwood halls feel less like a cage and more like a home. Nathaniel Thornton, Nate, my husband, has become my heart's compass. His gray eyes no longer a storm, but a steady light. His recovery of my father's lost money, his quiet care for my mother and brother, has bound us in a love I once thought impossible. Yet the weight of our journey, secrets unveiled, forgiveness earned, reminds me that even the strongest bonds can tremble. The silver ring on my finger, etched with a lily, carries my mother's lullabies and my father's sacrifice, grounding me as I face what lies ahead. The wooden house by the sea is my sanctuary, its creaking porch and rose-scented air a balm for my soul. I spend afternoons with my mother, Margaret, whose cough has faded, her hands now steady as she kneads dough in the kitchen. The room smells of yeast and chamomile tea, a warmth that echoes her cookie-filled days. "You've given us a miracle, Evie," she says, her green eyes glistening as she brushes flour from her apron. I smile, pouring tea, the steam curling like a memory of her lullabies. Henry, my 16-year-old brother, bounds in, his toolbox clinking as he sketches boat designs. "Nate's meeting me at the docks tomorrow," he says, grinning. "Said I could learn rigging." I ruffle his hair, the tang of sea salt clinging to us, and feel a quiet pride. Nate's not just my anchor, but theirs too. At the Thornton Estate, the parlor's chandelier glows softly, its prisms dancing on mahogany walls. Nate and I share moments that feel like promises, his hand resting on mine, his smile easing the weight of his CEO world. But Clara, his sister, remains a shadow, her emerald eyes holding a challenge I thought we'd overcome. She finds me in the garden, where roses climb trellises and the air hums with bees. "I misjudged you, Evie," she says, her voice low, almost hesitant. "You're not like Laura. You've made him better." I blink, startled. Her words aren't warm, but they're honest, a crack in her armor. "Thank you," I say, meeting her gaze, the scent of roses grounding me. She nods, turning away, and I realize forgiveness can bloom even in the hardest hearts. That evening, I'm at the wooden house, setting the table with Henry as my mother hums a lullaby. The kitchen smells of baked bread and lavender soap, a haven of light. There's a knock, and Clara steps in, her emerald dress out of place against the worn wood. "I owe you an apology," she says, her voice steady but soft. "I pushed you away because I was afraid of losing Nate, of change. You're family now." My mother smiles, offering her a chair, and Henry grins, oblivious to the weight of the moment. I nod, my throat tight, and feel a knot loosen in my chest. Clara's not my friend, but she's no longer my enemy, and that's enough. As dusk falls, Nate finds me on the beach below the cliffs, where the sand is cool and the sea's roar is a steady pulse. The sky burns gold, painting us in light, and the wind carries the salt of forever. He kneels, pulling a silver ring from his pocket, simple, etched with a lily, a twin to the one my mother gave me. "Evie," he says, his voice rough with emotion, "you've shown me what family means. Be mine, not because of a deal, but because we choose each other." My heart swells, tears blurring the sunset. "Yes," I whisper, and he slips the ring onto my finger, its weight a vow. We stand, his arms around me, the sea's song weaving through us. "You're my home," he murmurs, and I lean into him, the warmth of his coat against the wind's chill. Back at the wooden house, we gather in the kitchen, the lamp's glow dancing on the walls. My mother knits, Henry sketches, and I pour chamomile tea, its fragrance mingling with baked bread. Nate sits beside me, his hand brushing mine, and I feel the threads of our lives, my father's sacrifice, my mother's secrets, Clara's redemption, knit together. I pull the letter, "Forgive your father," from my heart's keeping and tuck it away, its lesson learned. Forgiveness isn't just for him, but for all of us. A bridge to this moment. Later, on the porch, the stars gleam above the sea, and I slip a note under Nate's pillow. "You're my sunset, always." The rose's scent lingers, and I hold the twin rings, one from my mother, one from Nate, knowing they're symbols of love that endures. My mother's lullaby hums in my mind. Henry's laughter echoes, and Nate's steady presence grounds me. The estate's grandeur fades against this simple truth. We've built something stronger than wealth, something eternal. As the night deepens, I stand with Nate, the sea whispering our story. The cliffs loom, but they're no longer barriers, just witnesses to a life we're choosing together. I've walked through shadows, doubt, fear, secrets, and found light in forgiveness, in family, in him. The silver rings catch the moonlight, and I know whatever tomorrow brings, we'll face it hand in hand, under a sunset that never fades. Havenport wakes under a soft dawn, the cliffs bathed in light as the sea hums its endless song. I'm Evie Harper, 24, no longer the flower seller bound by a cold bargain, but a woman who's found her place in a world once foreign. The Thornton estate, with its sandalwood halls, is now a home, not a cage, and Nathaniel Thornton, Nate, my husband, is my heart's truest harbor. His proposal on the beach, the silver lily ring he gave me, sealed a love I never dared dream of. My mother and brother, Margaret and Henry, are safe, their laughter my anchor, and even Clara's softened heart has woven us closer. The first, silver ring from my mother, rests beside Nate's on my finger, twin lilies carrying my father's redeemed sacrifice and a promise of forever. Yet every ending is a beginning, and I stand here, ready to carry our story forward. The wooden house by the sea is my touchstone, its creaking porch and rose-scented air, a testament to resilience. I spend mornings there, helping Henry arrange lilies for the market, the tang of salt and petals clinging to us. He's 16, his dreams of boats brighter since Nate's lessons at the docks. "Think I'll sail to Boston someday?" he asks, his toolbox gleaming under the sun. I grin, tucking a daisy behind his ear. "You'll sail anywhere you want, Henry." Inside, my mother kneads dough, her cough gone, her hands steady. The kitchen smells of baked bread and chamomile tea, a warmth that feels eternal. "You've made this house a home again, Evie," she says, her green eyes shining. I hug her, her lavender soap mingling with the bread's yeast, and know she's right. We've healed together. Nate and I open a flower shop in Havenport, a small storefront where lilies bloom under soft light. The air hums with earth and sweetness, and Henry learns to tie bouquets. his laughter filling the space. Clara visits one day, her emerald scarf a bright note against the petals. "You've built something real here," she says, her voice free of its old edge. I nod, handing her a lily, and we share a quiet smile, not friends but family, bound by forgiveness. The shop is more than a business. It's a promise, a way to honor my father's love and my mother's strength, to root our future in Havenport's soil. Evenings at the estate are gentle now, the parlor's chandelier casting a warm glow on mahogany walls. Nate and I sit by the hearth, the scent of burning cedar wrapping us as he reads, his hand resting on mine. His gray eyes, once sharp, are soft, like the sea at dusk. "You've changed me, Evie," he says one night, his voice low, steady. "I thought wealth was enough, but you showed me love." I lean into him, the silver rings catching the firelight, and feel the weight of our journey, secrets, doubts, redemption, melt into this moment. We're not perfect, but we're enough. And that's everything. One afternoon, I bring my mother and Henry back to the beach below the cliffs, where the sand is cool and the sunset spills gold across the waves. Nate joins us, his coat fluttering, in the breeze, and we sit together. The seas roar a chorus of memory. My mother pulls me close, her lavender scent mingling with salt. "You've made your father proud," she whispers, her eyes tracing the horizon. I nod, tears falling, and Henry leans against me, his sketchbook open to a boat design labeled Evie's Dream. Nate's hand finds mine, his ring warm against my skin. "We're a family," he says, his voice a vow, and I know it's true, not just us, but the echoes of my father, the strength of my mother, the hope of my brother. Back at the wooden house, I light the kitchen lamp, its glow dancing on the walls. Henry sketches, my mother hums a lullaby, and I pour chamomile tea, the steam curling like a sigh. The air carries bread and lavender, a tapestry of love. I find the letter, "Forgive your father," in a drawer and add a line in my own hand. "I've found my sunset, Dad." It's not closure but continuation, a way to carry him forward. Nate steps behind me, his arms circling my waist, and I lean back, his heartbeat steady against me. "You're my home," he murmurs, echoing our beachside vow, and I smile, the rings gleaming like stars. As night falls, I stand on the porch, the sea whispering beneath a velvet sky. The roses bloom, their scent weaving with salt, and I think of every step that brought us here. My father's sacrifice, my mother's secrets, Clara's redemption, Nate's love. The cliffs stand tall, witnesses to a life rebuilt from shadows. I hold the twin rings, their lilies a symbol of endurance, and know this happiness, hard-won and gentle, is ours forever. Havenport's dawn will come again, and we'll meet it, together, Nate, my mother, Henry, and me, in the flower shop, on the beach, in the kitchen's glow. The wooden house creaks, the sea sings, and love echoes through it all, a melody that never fades. I'm Evie Harper, and this is my story, not of a cage, but of a sunset that lights the way home. If this story touched your heart, please share a memory of love or family in the comments below, and subscribe for more journeys that remind us what matters most.